Hi, welcome to the Thought Bubble. I'm Brian Brady, a facilitator of the National Healthy Schools Collaborative Youth Council, and I'm here with four amazing youth leaders from all across the country. And we are going to talk about schools and school health and what they've learned after the past year of being on the NHSC Youth Council. How have they grown and developed their leadership skills, and how has their views of their world changed? So I am going to start with Michaela, because you're the first one on my screen here. Let me introduce everyone. We have Michaela from Colorado, Aissata from Washington, the state. We have Jadyn here from Washington, D.C., and we have Ramki, whose camera is not working, but we don't mind. He's too brilliant. We can just have his voice, and Ramki's from California. Uh, so I'll start, Michaela, with you. What is the one issue after thinking about school health for this whole year that has you fired up? You really want to see change on for students coming. You're a
I
senior.
Yes, I am a senior. I think the one that's most important to me personally is having more mental health counselors and more representation. Just because it gets so frustrating at my school, especially hearing things like, "Oh, we have one, it's fine," when we really have like hundreds and hundreds of kids that need support, and it really gets me fired up thinking about how we don't really have the representation and support that we need and how it's getting underplayed. So that's the most important to me.
Oh, that's a great issue. Does that resonate with some of you all too? Acetas, what's the big issue you want to you're really passionate about seeing change?
I think I've talked about this before, but it's definitely like neurodivergence. Just like having that being recognized in the classroom a lot more, because I think that also leads to a lot of mental health stressors that teachers may be unaware of, as well as students themselves who might be suffering. And I think also, yeah, I have to agree with Michaela, like the mental health counselors, because I think uh, students should have access and know like their counselors in their schools and like where to find them and all that. And there's just like such a lack. So yeah, it's a accessibility issue.
Oh, that's great. I'm going to come back to those two issues in a second, but Jadyn, I want to hear your thoughts about. You're a senior as well. Aissata, you're a junior, so you can actually make these changes happen, maybe. But Jadyn, what's something you'd like to see the students behind you have that you haven't had?
Honestly, I would say kind of having to do with accessibility, like Asita was talking about, but like autonomy, especially when it comes to like having extracurriculars and like outside out of school programs. Because it is true that it's easier to instill these things than like getting you into the school day. So allowing students to have like academic, but like also like fun and social activities where they can take part of instead of like having being on a strict academic schedule and like having to be confined to like um school like normal school structures and SAT testing and like structure things like that. I feel like if people have the opportunity to get things that are structured for them or like a person interpersonal to them, I think it's a lot more helpful.
That's that's great. I love that word autonomy too. That's an original. We don't talk about that word at all, and when we're designing schools, so that's I'm going to dig a little deeper there. Ramki, what's your passionate issue?
I agree with Jaden. I think that school should mainly be focused on like the individual. So instead of trying to, give out or like I guess kind of force like a curriculum upon like everybody without knowing everyone's individual learning styles and all that, it can kind of be detrimental like to their mental health when they realize they don't understand anything. But that may be due to how lessons are structured. It just might not fit their learning style. So I think classes and like the overall curriculum should kind of like because I think it's been the same for like a long time now. So I think there should be a revamp um, to like meet the modern day needs, to address people better.
So play this out for me a little bit. Just what does it look like now? The problem when you see it, Michaela, when there's not enough counselors. What do you see happening? Uh, that's detrimental. And then what is your vision of how this would change in the coming years?
Well, I mean, I personally didn't even know that we had a specific mental health designated counselor until I was bringing our recommendations to my school staff. And like, I know so many of my friends would benefit from talking to somebody, and having school counselors, that's free for students as opposed to paying like hundreds of dollars for a session with an outside therapist. Um, and I think it's just such an important resource for us as we develop and grow into young adults. And as we go through so many changes as a high schooler, because it's such a stressful time, especially like going into college and even just like transitioning from middle school to high school. Like, there's so much that you have to talk to people about, and you can't necessarily just talk to your friends about it because you don't want to, you don't want to overwhelm your friends who are also feeling similar things. So it's really important to have that adult that you can talk to that has the training to help you. And I really, really want to see more mental health counselors in schools for students that are more diverse and represent the wide population that we have in our schools. And I really want them to be presented to the school, because a lot of times in assemblies, like, you'll see like the sports teachers and coaches, and you'll see like maybe the music teacher, like there's common faces that you'll see, but our counselors are not any of those faces, especially the mental health counselors, because we don't know they're there. So I think really presenting them to students and having more of them, that's what I want to see.
And that's really interesting for me that as a senior, you've learned that there was a mental health expert in your school and you didn't know that for 4 years. That's insane. Aissata, how does the problem of lack of awareness around neurodiversity play out in your school? What do you see when this manifests as a problem?
I think because we in our like recommendations we do talk about like school culture a lot, and a lot of the things that come with like neurodivergence is like low self-esteem, as well as like having trouble managing your emotions, so a lot of emotional dysregulation, um, and so like those are like automatic like stressors that impact students like thought processes and how they view themselves and how they view themselves in the classroom specifically. And then it could also affect like interactions with teachers and their peers, who are constantly like, emotionally dysregulated and all that. Um, and so I think school, like especially like being a teenager in a high school, it's already challenging with like the amount of coursework we have, and then balancing it out with extracurriculars and then family time, if any. Like I don't know, like it's like simple things of like acknowledging that students might have different, like again like learning needs, like Ramki said, and as well as like brains that like process emotions differently. I feel like addressing that could really impact our school culture in like a positive way. So yeah, that's kind of one.
Uh, that's really an interesting portrait of just the pressure and pressures of being in a school that doesn't cater to how your brain works, and then also then all the other things you're juggling at the same time. And yeah, you paint a pretty clear picture of a lot of stress when your needs aren't getting met.
Yeah.
Um, and Jadyn and Ramki, you came back to this idea of autonomy and individualized learning. How does it play out now when you see students not getting that? What does it look like?
I think that when it comes to like, well, first of all, having set curriculums and like school structures, like you have to be able to acknowledge the fact that not everyone learns the same and not everyone has the same interests. So when we have like continue with these structures, it's like test dependent and on like doing step XYZ where people learn at different paces and have different styles. That's like kind of detrimental to a lot of people's learning. So I think that like when it comes to having these things where we can either have students where like I get a certain number of high school credits, but after that I can choose what class I would like to do, or I can even go do dual enrollment or off campus opportunities, or I have access to these extracurriculars after school where I can access my interests either academically or just socially. I think that like promotes a lot of like people's development academically, but honestly, personally and professionally.
Just, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Ramki, you want to add to that?
Yeah, just adding on like to the whole extracurricular thing too. If also like students have the opportunity like not to, you know, have like information kind of like shoved down their throat to like have homework every single night to like learn things, you know, that they were just taught in like, you know, a 40-minute period or something. I feel like if you got more time to kind of like spread it out, it gives students like, you know, more time in the evening to do their extracurriculars, which can also help them, you know, really pick a field that they want to study like in college and potentially like have a career in also, which I think is really important because a lot of kids, you know, kind of stress about that. And at the end of high school, I mean, a lot of people I know at least also like don't know what they want to be or what they want to do. And they're just kind of like in the system of just, you know, taking in a new concept from school and just like doing a test on it. So I think like the skills that those extracurriculars provide too are like really helpful.
Great, great. Well, let's end on an upbeat question a little bit here because all of you've been through high school a lot, and I'm sure you've run across an adult who who did meet you where you're at and did recognize and see you as an individual and try and connect. Um, Tell me a quick story of an adult teacher, counselor, could be the food person who helped you get through high school and helped make a good, you know, helped you engage at a higher level. Um, Michaela?
I mean, really, I think I have to thank all my teachers. I have had the opportunity to have like probably the best teachers in my school. Like I kept the same English teacher for 3 out of the 4 years, and like all of my teachers have really just been great at meeting me where I need to be, and they're great at recognizing, okay, let's push her a little bit, like let's not let her stay too comfortable because there's really no growth if you're just staying where you're comfortable. You have to go out of that comfort zone. So like I really appreciate all of my teachers for understanding that like I need to be pushed a little bit, and that like they're always there for me, and they know that I know that, and they can trust me to do different things. But like yeah, really just pushing me out of my comfort zone, that was so helpful.
That's great when you have teachers who do that. That's Aissata, who's a teacher or adult in the building who's been exemplary?
I think it's hard not to say like all my teachers as well. But like I think that genuinely comes from I have like a lot of great teachers that are really passionate about what they teach, and it kind of like oozes out as they're teaching, and there's an appreciation as like a learner, someone who like loves to learn. Seeing that from my teachers, especially like in humanities and ELA, like um even math. Like I don't like math, like I like my teacher and he loves math, and you can just see it. So like things like that really just reinforce positive attitude towards school, even if it's bad, like mentally or whatever. And then on top of that, like I have a really great relationship with my principal. And so being able to work with him on some of those recommendations really strengthened that relationship. And uh, I know he's always like there to support me as well. So that's good.
Oh, that's great. You'll see me. I've sometimes made a couple motions because we have students in the Zoom and who are contacting me as we are interviewing. Uh, and Jadyn, what's a teacher? You're at Banneker in DC. Is there a teacher or administrator who you want to shout out?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like because it's a very academic school, I think my best teachers are probably like those that are like they are have an understanding and a passion for their job, and that like push us for academic rigor, but they also like put a touch of like their own personality, and they express themselves like genuinely to everyone. So it's like in a way that I have to understand, like I'm not gonna sit here and just do nothing on class, but like we're actually doing something. But like also at the same time, like I can tell that you're actually passionate about this. Like you're gonna talk to me like an actual person. I have my own like I can think my own way, own autonomy, and we're having like this. We're actually genuinely having fun because it's like I feel like we're on the same level as you because you're speaking to me on like the same level. So honestly, I would say like that comes through best on like my history department, like my department, like my teacher now, Ms. Zigman. She's a really good teacher for AP Gov. She's like in those classes, like it's really on it. We have to, stay on track for our test, but like because of her personality, it's like it's a little bit more appealing, and honestly, it feels like you can be more open. So honestly, I appreciate that. And like some of our administration, honestly, who like don't stay to themselves, even though they don't have set classes, but like they'll like come out of their way to speak to students and have that like they'll have those relationships with everyone, which I really can appreciate. But yeah.
It is that ability. Adults, the really great teachers connect and see you as a person and they're not playing a power game with you all the time, right? Ramki, how about you? You want to shout out a teacher administrator in particular?
Yeah. So it all kind of began like sophomore year. So I had this chemistry teacher. His name is Mr. Sakugawa. He's really nice. Everyone knows him as like, a really kind of like chill teacher. And I was in the process of like starting like a club with my friend, and we needed a teacher to like kind of be our advisor. So, all my friends, we were all like trying to search for everybody, but like everybody was already taken by other clubs. And then, but Mr. Sakugawa, he said yes to us. And he stuck with us like all 3 years, even though, there was some lows and highs. Sometimes like our club got, maybe 2 members. And other times at meetings, it got like, 20 or 15 members. So, I just like to appreciate him, like, spending his evenings at the school just to have our club, and, kind of believing in us. And that really kind of encourages me to keep going out and, just taking the opportunity if it comes my way to, do new things.
Oh, I love that. That is all great educators have that sense of commitment and purpose, right? I have to end on a really just a funny creative question here. If you had to create a tagline for your ideal school that you're building, like what it stands for, what would, if someone has an answer, what would the tagline to your ideal school be? It could be corny, like every child matters, or something a little more zingy.
I think I would do something like it's like find your passion, find yourself, but while you're finding an education, something like that.
Oh, you get some snaps for that one. That's good. Anyone else have a tagline?
I mean, the only one I can think of is "Come as you are." Like that's like the generic corny tagline, but I mean, I feel like it's true. That's what school should be: is you coming as yourself.
I like it. Aissata, Ramki, you got a tagline?
I really like "Come as You Are." That's a good one. I think like where every kid deserves a bright future, maybe.
I like that. I like it. Ramki, you get a tagline to take us out here?
Let's see. It would probably be follow in your footsteps, not others.
Nice. You guys could all be media executives. I like it. Well, this has been another edition of the Student Speak Out Thought Bubble. Thank you, Michaela, Aissata, Jadyn, and Ramki. I really enjoyed interviewing you, and check out the next edition of the Thought Bubble.